Welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Monday, July 20th. I'm J.E. Skeets, and joining us thanks to the power of Zoom, Tass Millis.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Tassie. We got the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friends.
Lily, and last but not least, making the magic happen, JD.
Hello.
There he is, and here we are, just the four of us today. No Trey Kirby. He's on his way back from the Midwest. Word is that he's going to be staying the night on Reba McEntire's farm. I'm not even kidding. Yeah. I guess she has like I don't know if it's a horse farm or something. And that's where they plan on stopping on their drive back with their social distancing trip.
From a yurt to Reba McEntire's farm. What a journey.
Yeah,
it's not Jose Calderon's farm, but it'll do.
It'll do. Before we get into it, a little housekeeping. Make sure you check out the two great podcasts we posted near the end of last week. On Friday, I spoke to NBA 2K/YouTube star and the host of House of Highlights Through the Wire podcast, Kenny Beecham. That was a really, really fun podcast. Great kid. Highly recommend you go check that one out. And then on Saturday, we posted Lee's Pop and Packs episode with Hawks Hall of Famer Dominique Wilkins. This was another great listen, though I will say Nick was struggling at times with a couple of the cards, Lee.
Yeah, one or two of them. But I often find with the older guys, if you throw in the guy's college where he played, that tends to turn them around. They're big, pretty knowledgeable about where everyone played college ball.
That's true. But he shared some great stories, too, and had played like summer ball with some of the guys that you had planted in that pack, and it was a lot of fun. No, it's great. So go check out those podcasts if you haven't already, and if you have already listened, thank you so much. Guys, we're bumping up beach stepping this week by a day. We're going to record that bad boy on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So you got about 24 hours here to get your questions and your comments in for the new Beach Steppin' podcast. Email us, nodunks@theathletic.com, or tweet them in at nodunksync. Tass, you usually spearhead the Beach Steppin' podcast. How are the questions and the comments looking? Do we need some good ones still to come in?
We always do, but our fans are extremely creative. Even in these times where we haven't had basketball for 4 freaking months. We've been doing Beach Steppin', we've been doing Mailbag podcasts for 4 months with no games, and they're still coming in strong.
That's true.
Good ones, real good ones.
Yeah,
I got lots of tips for my poison ivy. It's awesome. Thank you
good.
so much to everybody out there. I'm not going to wear a suit out there, like a full suit. People are suggesting I wear like a gas mask and stuff. It's not going to happen, but thanks for the suggestions anyways.
Also, can I kindly request for everybody, all you listeners out there, stop sending me video of the Mavericks playing spike ball. My God, I couldn't believe how many people, especially on Instagram, were tagging me, check this out on House of Highlights, check this out here, whatever. I got it. I saw it. It's amazing. I'm so pumped. We had talked before a long time ago, hey, NBA teams, they should be playing spike ball. Build up the camaraderie, just the chemistry between guys. It's a fun game. So thank you, but you can now stop. I've seen it. They're also not very good at it. Like, Lee, you've never even played spike ball, have you?
Nah.
You and I would wax them.
Wow.
I wouldn't even need, we wouldn't even need to teach you the game. You and I would just kill them. I mean, let alone me and Tassie would play together. So
I had a question about it. So you don't actually have to hit it off the mat or the pad every time. Is that right?
Well,
it looked like they were sort of tapping it to each other.
It's more of a
like
net.
Volleyball.
Yeah, it's
like volleyball. You get passes.
So if you and I are on the same team, Lee, and we're playing Tass and JD at spike ball, yeah, exactly. It's just like volleyball where I can basically volley it to you for you to smash. But you only have so many hits, so you got to then hit it off the net. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So I learned something. So I appreciate me being sort of extra tagged into those messages that you were sent, because it all spilt over. Everyone was like, well, I got to tag Skeets, got to tag No Dunks, and then I might as well tag all the guys. So I saw it all as well.
Yeah, great. And
I think I was the first one to send it to you, Skeets. But
well, exactly. You were all over it. It was great. But I mean, all weekend long, Tass. Oh, I mean, like, I swear to God, there was like 10 a day people telling me to look at the same video over and over again. It's like, I get it. All right, they're playing spike ball. I've seen
too much engagement.
Too much. No, I'm just kidding. You guys keep tagging me. Go nuts. I would love to play the Mavericks at spike ball, though. Oh, man, if we can make that happen. Whew, let's get to that. All right, so we got a fun podcast here, I think, for a Monday. The league guys told teams on Friday that none of the seeding games will be taken into consideration for any postseason award, and that voting for these honors, like All-NBA and Rookie of the Year and MVP, all your major awards, they will be completed before the July 30th restart at Disney World. typically those votes are cast closer to the end of the regular season, but again, these seeding games, they don't matter. They don't care. So the individual award chases are now complete. So let's make our final picks and predictions. We're going to do the 6 major awards, and then we'll select our all NBA teams near the end of the podcast. I think we'll try and do that collectively because that can get a little crazy.
It would have been nice if they told reporters a week ago. So while they're in their rooms quarantining for 7 days, they could have came up with their picks, instead of having to do it now. But hey, this makes sense.
Time. They've still got time. Okay, so let's go through these. We're we're making our picks, but we're also really predicting what we think the media will ultimately decide on. Let's start with the granddaddy of them all. Most valuable player. Tass, why don't you get us started? Can you make a case for anybody except the Greek Freak?
No, I don't think anyone should. I think it actually, when the season stopped, really helped Giannis and his case because he was injured. They had lost 2 in a row with him out. The game before that, they lost to LeBron James and the Lakers when LeBron had his weekend of supremacy over the league there with Kawhi Leonard being beat and then Giannis being beat. So the Bucks were starting to fall. Then the season stopped, and we actually on The Athletic voted for all the awards in early April, and 97% of the writers at The Athletic, 32 of 33 writers, picked Giannis. And I think just the way it's all shaken down, I think that he is going to get, not the unanimous vote, but he's going to get most of the votes because I think people aren't going to get cute with their votes at the ballot box this year. They're just going to try and keep it straightforward. They don't want an asterisk on an asterisk of a season. I think they're not gonna screw around. Giannis had the best team. I think he impacted the game a little bit more every night. And hey, that makes than LeBron, I should say. Definitely LeBron. LeBron's the number 2 guy out there, but of course he's going to impact the game a little bit more. They're a decade apart. He is. Yeah. He does have a little bit more energy on the defensive end. He definitely impacted the game a lot more. Across the board, he was there night in and night out, and it's odd to think of Giannis. I know people say that he has the best team and he's the best player, but LeBron is mentioned more in the media. I even did a little Google trend search. Like LeBron is talked about more. He is in our brains a little bit more, and so it's easy to think, hey, LeBron had a great season too. He did, but I think Giannis was the better player. He doesn't have the teammate that LeBron James does in Anthony Davis, and I think you can make an argument that the Lakers should have had a better record than the Bucks because LeBron has Anthony Davis. And I know that might be a dumb thing to sort of think about, but if you put Giannis on the Lakers in LeBron's place and you put LeBron on the Bucks, I think the Bucks fall off a little bit. They don't keep up that pace, but I think the Lakers are just as good, if not better. And so that's what it is. I think he's been the absolute best player in the league this year.
Lee, do you think Giannis wins this unanimously? Because Tass doesn't. He thinks maybe there'll be a vote or two thrown to LeBron for the first overall MVP pick. But what do you think?
I had Giannis unanimous around February, but in that sort of March, April. Oh, hang on, when did we end? We ended in April.
March. Man.
Oh, yeah. So maybe it was January. I had him up to then as about unanimous. But then LeBron did make a strong push, and he's not going to be unanimous because. But I haven't seen anyone outside of Los Angeles-based media really picking LeBron over Giannis. And that's fine. If you cover LeBron, you're around him all the time. It's understandable why people get a little bit biased towards him, a little bit influenced by him. He's been great. He's been incredible. He's had a great bounce back season considering where he ended last season. But Giannis has been the most valuable player all season long for the Milwaukee Bucks. On both ends of the floor, he's been incredible. The Bucks have been incredible. And it's not a coincidence that they're either the best offense and best defense. Those sort of things shuffle around a little bit. But when Giannis is on the floor, the Bucks look like they are the best team. And when LeBron's on the floor, the Lakers are obviously an incredible team as well. But from what we've seen from the entire body of work from Giannis this season, he is clearly the MVP in my mind. And he deserves to win this award comfortably. But it won't be unanimous, no, because there is still, there's going to be, I would say there's about 120 voters. I would say there's probably 15 to 20 at least who are going to pick LeBron. And,
wow, no way.
I think so.
No way.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, again,
I don't think it's that high. I think if the season had continued, maybe normally, and like Tass took us through, like Giannis a little banged up, the Lakers and LeBron were peaking at the right moment. Yeah, then maybe then, but with the stoppage, I can't see there being more than 10 that give LeBron their first overall MVP.
Well, we'll see anyway. But I think that LeBron certainly swayed people because of what he'd done over those last 6 weeks, where it was like, he had those nights as well against even Zion Williamson, a rookie, where LeBron was like, all right, Rook, I'm just going to, teach you a lesson here. And, those are the sorts of things that sort of stay in people's minds, I think. But, yeah, Giannis is the MVP. He deserves it. And there's really not a case that LeBron could take it off him, in my view.
Yeah, it's wild to think at his MVP celebration in Milwaukee last summer, Giannis told fans not to refer to him as MVP until I win it again next year. He sort of called his shot on this one. The statistical numbers they're just unreal. I mean, I think it's Wilt, MJ, and then LeBron himself are the only people to really have better statistical seasons than what Giannis did this year. And again, Giannis in limited minutes because the Bucks just crush teams for the most part.
Right.
And he doesn't have to play that much. He's the classic best player on the best team, and he might also win Defensive Player of the Year. He might be the best player on that end of the floor too. I think the LeBron thing, Tass, where you were saying like more people talk about LeBron, I agree with that. I wonder if that has to do with for, I don't know, like 15 plus years where like LeBron's maybe the best player in the game. He may not win MVP every year, but he's the best player in the game. I would want him with one possession in the game, blah, 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 blah. Is that why we do it? LeBron hasn't won an MVP since 2012-13. It's a long time. And again, even though we all agree every year that he's like, well, he's at least one of the best players in the league. So maybe that's
he's
an
11-time MVP in my book, remember?
That's right.
You took it through it.
I saw Bleacher Report even had, like, this is year 17 for LeBron. Where does it rank? Where does this season rank in LeBron's entire body of work? And even Bleacher Report had it ranked like 10th. So this is LeBron's, as great as he's been, this is maybe just like his 10th or 9th, wherever you want to put it, best season. Which is wild to think that the guy's going to be likely a runner-up in MVP, and it's, not even above average season for him in his career when you look at the numbers and success.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much the long-term view. I think he's got enough MVPs for people to feel comfortable with. This isn't like a Kobe legacy MVP or, 4 I think is enough. But there may be some people who think this could be his last chance at the MVP. Maybe. I mean, I think that won't be the media who's voting, but fans might say, I'd like to give it to LeBron just because he has been the best player of this generation. He's not going to get better at 36 years of age next year. So maybe it's time to sneak his 5th one in there. But I don't think it's a case where, he had 1 or 2, so we just got to give him another one. I think 4 is a pretty decent amount. I think where people want to push LeBron's name in front of Giannis is when you start talking about one game, one possession, one series.
Yeah.
And that's understandable because Giannis hasn't won a title yet. He hasn't shown that he can take an offense on his back in the finals like LeBron James has. He hasn't had that success. But it's a different conversation when you talk about that. And even when we all picked the Athletics NBA Awards, an article that Michael Lee put together in April, the question was, who do you want with the ball last possession, down 3, or last possession of the game, and LeBron was the number 1 player. So him and Kawhi and Steph Curry were pretty close to the 3 guys that everybody wanted, pretty equal amounts. So Giannis wasn't on that list. So I think people start talking about, well, he hasn't won a championship and all that kind of stuff. But it's a different argument. Or Damian Lillard. It was LeBron, Steph, and Damian Lillard, I should say. It wasn't Kawhi. So people, it's hard to take the long view though. It's hard to everybody's going to start talking about him, LeBron beating Kawhi and Giannis in March and forgetting about October, November, December, January, February, March. It's a long time to sort of think about in our, in the way we think about things. And Giannis was dominant for 6 months. He was amazing. And, I don't know what you guys think about, like Giannis not having as good a teammate as Anthony Davis. Like Anthony Davis is going to be in a lot of people's top 5 MVP ballots on their ballots, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that helps Giannis to me.
Yeah, I guess you could counter to that might be, well, Giannis plays in the East. A
little bit,
whereas LeBron plays in the West, maybe obviously a more stacked conference. Though that's funny because, that was an argument sort of at times held against LeBron, I guess, when he was winning MVPs and he's like doing all this stuff. And I was like, well, you're in the East doing a lot of this, so does that really matter? Anyway, okay, we all agree Giannis is going to win this thing, and rightfully so. LeBron's going to be second. Fill out the rest of your ballot, Tass, if we were really doing this. Top 5. Who goes 3, 4, and 5, and in what order? Where do you go?
A little tough, but Harden, Luka, and Anthony Davis round out my top 5 after Giannis and LeBron.
Lee?
I have Luka in there at number 3. I think he was just incredible this season for a young guy to do what he did. I mean, the Mavs, obviously their record isn't quite as impressive as some of those other teams, but I mean, almost averaging a triple-double, which is not that big a surprise because we've seen Russell Westbrook do it. But I just thought Luka from season 1 to season 2 went from like, man, this kid looks like he's really good to like, this guy's going to win MVP probably within 5 years. And, you know, I think that as long as he's on the Mavericks team, they are a chance. He's that sort of an influential player. It's going to take him a few years still to get into that spot where it's like automatically the best player in the league. But I think that is on the horizon for Luka at some point. Just because, again, he's clutch in the moment. He's a great distributor. He's very unselfish. He's a good rebounder. He does all those things. Now, his three-point shooting numbers aren't great. They sort of feel like they're better than they are. But I just think his feel for the game, his impact on the game, he needs to improve defensively. But I just think what he has done so far this season, he's taken the Mavs from people like, they probably won't make the playoffs, to, at their best, you know, they're not better than the Clippers or the Lakers, but are they much worse than those other teams in that area? And while they've got Luka there, I think they're a chance. So I would have him number 3, Davis 4. James Harden, I probably wouldn't have in my top 5.
Wow.
Probably not really. I mean, like, I honestly think Westbrook, since the year turn 2020, I think Westbrook was the Rockets' best player this season from 2020. I mean, Harden, you know, he puts up those numbers that we always see, but I just don't actually think he was that impactful this season after Russell Westbrook and him kind of figured out what was going on. I think Westbrook.
Well, who would you throw in the 5th spot then?
Yeah,
who would you throw that final vote to? Like Jokic?
Kawhi's there.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, this is what I'm always excited about. When we have what appears to be a runaway MVP winner, and it's 1-2, so like whoever takes it, but Giannis is going to. I like finding out like who gets those like 4th and 5th place like sort of throwaway votes. Like here's a little love. Like will Lowry get one of those? Chris Paul, I assume, will get some of those.
I think
Tatum, you know,
Jimmy Butler as well.
Jimmy Butler,
Butler. Again, the numbers there for Jimmy Butler aren't going to jump off the page.
No.
But we saw a different Jimmy Butler. We saw the Butler that the Timberwolves wanted, that the Sixers wanted, and the Miami Heat were prepared to pay him and say, all right, we think you're that guy, and he went out and did it. So and Chris Paul as well. I think Chris Paul is he's no lower than 6th or 7th at all right now because he was just incredible all season long.
Yeah, who will be the weirdest guy to get an MVP vote? No wonder.
Tatum, maybe? I mean...
Tatum's not even that weird.
No,
it'd almost be weirder if like Bam Adebayo got an MVP vote. I think that would almost be weirder than Tatum, especially with Jimmy Butler being on the team. I mean, it's possible though too.
Yeah.
Final question before we move on to the next award. If you're a betting man, Tass, who would you lay coin on winning MVP next year? Is it Luka? Is it Giannis for a potential, back-to-back-to-back? You stick with LeBron? If you just had to. It's obviously tough to predict, but where would you go?
Yeah, I think Luka's the hot pick.
Yeah.
To win it next year.
I mean, because Luka, you're going to assume the numbers are going to stay pretty consistent, right? Maybe even better if the shot starts falling, like you said, Lee, and he can hit that with a little bit more consistency, especially the three-point shot. But would the Mavs jump up in terms of wins? Would they become like a 60-win team, flirt with 65, whatever? If that's the case, then he would be a hell of an MVP favorite. You're probably going Luka too, Lee. Is there anyone else you could talk yourself into?
Yeah, I mean, if we sort of take Giannis off the board, I think it is probably Luka. I mean, you mentioned there like the numbers, 28 already this season, 28, 9 rebounds and 8 assists. I mean, it's incredible for a young guy to be doing that because he's also not super athletic and he's not even super quick. But he seems to get out there and the ball just finds him in the right spot. So, yeah, I definitely feel that if it's not next year for Luka, it's within the next 2 or 3 for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anyone else. Maybe Jokic if he came in and didn't punt away the first month of the season like he always does to get in shape, and the Nuggets had a lot of wins. Possibly.
He was my pick, I think, this year, Jokic. But, the problem is the stamina and just the commitment all season, which I think is just not there with him because he had a bad November, wasn't it? I think, and then he had like a good December, January, but then he kind of went missing a little bit again in towards the end of February. So I think that's the concern with Jokic. But no doubt, Jokic I think can pile up the numbers and get sort of close to that triple-double average while shooting decently from 3-point range as well. But the Nuggets need to win a lot of games. They sort of blew a few at home this season as well, so I think that detracted from him. But you just need to see Jokic really sort of like commit himself, I think, to playing every single night, which he hasn't done yet.
One more wild card name. Let's not forget about him because he should be back and healthy. Steph Curry. I mean,
Yeah.
He could go for 30 a game every night when healthy again, hitting the threes, shooting so many of them. I mean, it's not win possibly a third MVP. I think there's a lot of these guys you'd probably have ahead of him, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, when you consider the Warriors this season have been an after story, like it could be that, like, oh man, we forgot about Steph. He is awesome again, like catches people.
They could go from the worst team in the league to very easily the number one team again in the league.
Absolutely,
right? For all we know.
Yeah.
You'd have the narrative there for sure. All right, well, let's keep it going here. Lee, you can go first. Coach of the year, predictions. Who you got winning this? There's a lot out there that you can make a case for.
Yeah, this is always an interesting one because do you say, well, Greg Popovich is the best coach, but the Spurs clearly not this season weren't going to do it, so he's not going to win. Do you give it to someone like Frank Vogel who just got a great team, but he got good results out of them? Or do you look at someone like Doc Rivers, the same sort of situation there? Budenholzer's got the Bucks playing really good ball again. So there's all different sort of narratives and storylines you can fit around. But I'm going with the guy who I've kind of been on his supporting him all season. It's Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse, because he came in with the expectations of this team might even struggle to make the playoffs after winning the championship last year because they lost their best player and they weren't able to replace him. But instead of that, I think the Raptors were incredibly well prepared. They played well, they played hard, and there was no excuses at all with that club. And I think that starts with the coach, where he's like, well, I'm not feeling sorry for myself. I know Kyle Lowry and Marc Gasol aren't feeling sorry for themselves. Siakam came along, and he was an early MVP candidate. He kind of dropped off a little bit as the season went on. But I just think what Nick Nurse has done for the Raptors to keep them relevant and to keep them as a legitimate / dark horse for the NBA championship. I think he's done an incredible job. So he gets the nod for me because, again, I think it's harder for a coach to handle expectations and live up to them, kind of like a Frank Vogel. He's on the hot seat as soon as he accepts that job, and he's done a great job. If you look at someone like Jeff Hornacek a few years ago, when the Suns sort of shocked everyone and won 47 games, it was like, wow, Jeff Hornacek's great. But then it didn't really carry on. It didn't really last. So I think what Nick Nurse did was like, everyone thinks the Raptors were a lucky champion last year. They got lucky because Kevin Durant was injured, then Clay was injured, and they won, and they had Kawhi. But that was it. That was a high watermark. I think what he's done with them this season is keep them competitive and keep them relevant, and more than just like, well, they're going to show up in the playoffs and be first round fodder. I think the Raptors are still a very good chance if everything goes right for them in the Eastern Conference. So he's my choice. Again, lots of good candidates out there. You kind of overlook Budenholzer, but you expect the Bucks to be good because they were good last year, and he's kind of just keeping them on track. But I think considering what the expectations were coming into the season for Toronto to where they are now, Nick Nurse deserves a lot of credit for that.
Spoken like a true homer. Well done. What do you think, Tass? You agree with him?
Yeah, it is crazy to think back in October, the range that people had the Raptors in, from top 4 to there's that infamous screen grab from NBA TV, the predictions, and it was our man 3D Dennis Scott. Didn't even have him in his top 8, standing alongside former Raptors Coach of the Year Sam Mitchell, who put the Raptors at 8. And 3D said, I was wrong. A few months later, 3D just didn't believe, but it is wild to think of that range. And I think the narrative of Nick Nurse doing the quote unquote most with the least is a popular,
not entirely accurate, but again, people were just like the Raptors. They might even just start having a fire sale halfway through the season if they're not doing well.
Yeah, but in comparison to the Lakers and the Bucks and the Clippers, the good teams, I mean, they don't have a superstar quite yet.
Yeah.
Siakam is on the verge. But yeah, I think the most with the least, and that from projection, it means from where they were projected, average was probably 6th, 7th, 8th in the Eastern Conference to being second. That's the biggest jump of any team, I think, from expectations to actual results. And so Nicky gets it. I think there's lots of good stories, but Nick also. Maybe people want to give him a little love because they realized his name in last year's postseason. They realized what he did last year in the playoffs, and playing the box and one. Nick Nurse is wearing a shirt that says "box and one" this past week in Orlando. Amazing. So maybe there's a little bit of love post finals championship that he's going to get because he deserves it, man.
I agree with you guys. I think Nick Nurse is ultimately going to win this award. With what percentage of the vote, I don't know. Probably 50 to 60%, something like that. I think he'll get a fair share of the votes first overall for Coach of the Year. I don't want him to win this. I've said it before. I don't know why any Raptors fan would want a coach they like to win Coach of the Year because bad things happen to them when they do get it. Sam Mitchell, of course. Dwayne Casey wins it and then is fired for crying out loud for Nick Nurse to replace him and win a championship. So I almost hope he doesn't win it, though I think he will. But you guys said it. He lost 2 starters. I think that is forgotten in the whole Kawhi thing. Like, okay, wow, you lost Kawhi, maybe the best player in the game at the time. You also lost Danny Green, who was like a starting guy on a championship team. And you got killed by the injury bug this year, too. Siakam out, Lowry out, Gasol out, Ibaka out, Van Vliet out, Norm out at times. And he just got things out of guys that, quite frankly, a lot of people have never heard of. Chris Boucher, Terrence Davis, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson suddenly back in our lives.
Playing center, too, Rondae Hollis, remember?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I love about Nurse, and I love that he's getting the credit of just not being afraid to try things. He's repeatedly spoken about how teams have to get more creative on defense to catch up to the amazing NBA offenses, and he will give it a go. And I love that. Just to what you said, though, about preseason expectations, Tass. I saw Eric Koreen of The Athletic. He had a great article a while ago where he took the 2019-20 prorated wins, because we didn't have a full season, so played it out as if it was one, versus the preseason over-unders, and then who exceeded expectations the most. Now, the Raptors are high on the list. They finished 4th, but actually Billy Donovan and Oklahoma were the winner in this category. They only were pegged to win like 30.5 games, and prorated would be like a 50-plus win team, 51. So that's a hell of an increase. Same with the Grizzlies right there and Taylor Jenkins. And then Vogel and the Lakers, surprisingly, in 3rd, and then Nick Nurse and the Raptors. So I thought that was interesting. It's a really cool article from Eric Koreen. But you can see, and there are cases to be made for Donovan and Jenkins, and even Spoelstra, I think, a little bit. Like you said, Budenholzer and the other great coaches in the league. But I think Nurse wins this.
Yeah, I agree. Those are all the names that are in there. I think you can throw Nate McMillan as a guy who sort of exceeded expectations a little bit. Spoelstra, I think, is exactly like the Nick Nurse scenario, getting a lot out of undrafted guys, second-round guys, young guys, G League development, going down from 1 through 12 and getting guys to come up and play big. It's all what kind of storyline do you like? But I think I want to give Nick Nurse the honor just because, he won a championship. So I think that's part of, even if it's the 1920 Coach of the Year award, I'm giving it to him.
I like how he, one of the first photos we saw of him in Orlando, he had the guitar wrapped around him. He was taking only the essential items down there.
Oh, wow. Do you think when they give him the award, he could play like a little song? Maybe he could write something as a thank you to the team and to the management?
Hope so.
That would be nice. So. All right, our next one, my favorite award, Most Improved Player of the 2019-20 season. Tass, let's hear your prediction. Who wins this MIP?
This is tough. I think Bam Adebayo is going to win it. I think...
wow, okay.
Yeah, I think he's surprised the most people, I guess, coming out of nowhere playing as a backup to Hassan Whiteside. The poll via The Athletic, if we take the writers' guesses, would put Bam on that podium as the winner by far and away, almost 60% of the vote. But I would give it to a guy who went from really good to superstar level. Because, I don't know, I think as basketball nerds, we all expected Bam Adebayo to eventually get that starter's role in Miami. would we expect him to be an amazing player on the defensive end and the sort of the centerpiece of the offense, and they're probably their most important player? No, but I'm giving it to a guy who was a number one option on offense the entire year, and I didn't see it coming, and that's Brandon Ingram. And so I would, his numbers of 24, 6, and 4 assists a game, all career highs, 59% shooting percentage. To me, it was ridiculously impressive, and maybe it's just a little bit of surprise for me going from the Lakers. I thought he was just sort of always going to ride that number 2 type guy and never really fulfill that number 1 role, sort of like Jason Tatum, who is also an option in this award. Those 2 guys broke out, and so I'd go with Ingram, but Ingram, Tatum, Adebayo, even Luka, even a Christian Wood dark horse are probably the 5 guys you can pick from.
Yeah, it feels like Bam's or Ingram's award. I'm with you. You can throw out other names, but I think one of those 2 guys that went to that level, like you said, that all-star level. Maybe the Zion Ingram pairing is interesting. We only saw it for less than 20 games, but yeah, these guys are elite guys, and that is always a tough jump. It's a lot more difficult jump than what Christian Wood did, right? Like, which is impressive. Guy went from basically a G leaguer. Couldn't find a spot in the league, bouncing around, to a really solid 13-7 type guy on a lowly Pistons team. Going to get a payday eventually. Like, good. That's impressive. But it's way more difficult to do what Ingram did or Bam did, in my opinion. And like Luka's there too, but almost Luka goes too elite with it.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole Curry conversation we used to have. Like, can he win MIP despite being MVP? And even Giannis, for crying out loud. Like, that to me gets a little silly. But yeah, what do you think, Lee? This is funny timing. I saw someone just tweeting at us that you called Ingram's All-Star spot on the Starters show like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. But
I think it was in his second season. So I guess that was 3 years ago. Yeah. So I nailed it. Thanks for finding that too. Bailey Larson, I think his name was great.
Yeah.
Love that. You love that. I think it comes down to those guys you mentioned, Bam, Brandon Ingram, or Jason Tatum. I think Tatum, you almost have to take him out of this equation because we knew this was coming, this jump. You could see it happening. I don't think we saw Bam quite taking this leap. And Ingram got to a new situation, got to a new team, had a new opportunity, and really grasped it. He took it. And he was a very, very good player for the Pelicans this season. The way that he just took control of that offense. Now, he and Zion didn't really figure it out in those short time together, and that is a question going forward for David Griffin there in the Pelicans. Can these 2 work? Because maybe they can, maybe they can't. But I think right now you want to certainly keep Ingram. Ingram's an interesting one because as well the Pelicans didn't extend him last season when they could have. So now he is a restricted free agent. They can obviously match any offer he gets. But I know that sort of irked him and his camp because they wanted, hey, pay us the big bucks. But I think David Griffin did the right thing because the potential and the talent has been there for Ingram, but we wanted to see it. Well, he answered that. He showed that this season. So he's going to get a lot of offers. Will he get that sort of big max deal? I'm not sure he'll get quite that, but I think he'll get pretty close to it.
I think he'll get it. I think he'll get it especially because the free agent crop, not so good. He'll get paid. After Davis, who you assume is just going to re-sign with the Lakers, there isn't that sort of 1 or 2 really standout names. So yeah, he gets very close to it, if not the 4-year max. Obviously, someone else can offer him. The Pelicans can offer him 5. But it's funny when we're looking at this. I remember I had a guy, and I couldn't remember who it was, who I was trying to make a case for earlier in the season, and it was Russell Westbrook. I remember saying that I think Westbrook has improved because he's been a guy I've been critical of in the past that, he goes out and gets all these numbers, but it doesn't translate to wins. But he turned it around for Houston to the point where it's like I've started to sort of believe that maybe things could work out because Westbrook had been so good, as I mentioned earlier, since the sort of season turned over from 2019 to 2020. So he's not going to win it. There's no question he's not going to win it. He's almost ineligible to win it, being an MVP in the past. Yeah. But I just think that what you saw from him, the way that he adjusted his game and adapted his game, that should get some consideration. But that this award is not about that. This award is whose stats basically blew up from last year to this year. And that's why it's going to go to someone like Bam or Brandon Ingram, or to a lesser extent Jason Tatum, who, again, his numbers went up. And Jason Tatum, though, what we saw from Jason Tatum was like, okay, franchise guy right there. There's no question about it that this guy is ready to be the next big thing for the Celtics. And he's only, 21? I think he is. But you saw the moves, the way that he
improved his ability to score, the way he was clutch, he hit some big shots, and he wanted the ball in those critical moments, and that to me is a sign of growth, and the Tatum is legit. He was an all-star as well, although oddly I don't think any of us actually had him as an all-star when he got in.
That's
if
right.
I remember.
I think that was
because
we were debating other guys.
Yeah, because he sort of started off a little bit slowly, but by the time he really picked it up,
you had Jaylen Brown, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Brown was close to being an all-star too. I think he was probably maybe one of the next guys to get in if there was an injury replacement. I thought he was great too. But I think ultimately I go with Ingram. But a lot of good cases out there.
Yeah, the only thing with Ingram, I saw this, I think it was Bleacher Report wrote this, and I was like, is that a good case for him winning? It said, quote, Ingram was critical to the Pelicans' early season 6-22 survival. Huh? Okay, then they turned it on. They went 22-14, a nice run, and obviously Zion came back, and they got other guys back. That's the thing. Zion was injured for a good chunk of the season. Drew Holiday was out. Lonzo was out. Derek Favors was out. Ingram did shoulder much of the load, but
but
6-22 early season survival. You can barely be much worse than that.
Yeah, but I think again, this award is more about just an individual's stats. It's like the Rookie of the Year almost, and
his stats are incredible. To be basically a 25-point per game score and do it as efficiently as he does, like Tass said, especially with hitting the 3 this year. He was on fire, and how many he added to his game, his repertoire. That's impressive. I do think he wins it. I wouldn't be upset if Bam is also given it. I'm bummed that my super preseason pick of Siakam going back-to-back in MIP would have been my boldest prediction of all time if it had come true. It would have been my greatest prediction of all time. And it looked good for, 4 or 5 weeks? Yeah, something like that, maybe 6. And then he tailed off there. But he was well on his way, for sure, as having a legit chance at bumping up his numbers enough to win it again in back-to-back seasons. But yeah, Bam or Ingram, it sounds like we all think B.I. Slenderman gets the MIP. I will say, again, I've made it clear in the past before how much I hate this award, but I like the direction it's gone in recently, at least, of guy that's been in the league a couple years, maybe given more prominent role, or has just blossomed into a star-type player like we've seen. I like that a lot more than some of the guys that used to win this damn thing in the past, and then all this talk about a second-year guy, which I hate. Well,
they should maybe make another award, best second-year player, and then most improved. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if we need more awards, but
probably not. Okay.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins that award this year. By the way, he was my preseason prediction for this award, and he's jumped up big time. But
wait, how many years is Luka in?
He's in his second year.
Oh, second. Oh,
he would win it by a mile.
Yeah.
Well, the jump up is he was good in his rookie season too. That's tough though. He was good. He was better. He was much better. Okay, let's keep it going here. So so far, Giannis, Nick Nurse, and Brandon Ingram. We all sort of agree on who we think is going to win the thing. Defensive Player of the Year. Defense. Lee, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this one's pretty much down to a 2-horse race, and I'm going with Giannis for this too. I think his impact on the Bucks defense is unquestionable. The net rating when Giannis is on the court for the Milwaukee Bucks is up to 16. This is from NBA.com, of course, and when he sits, it's in the positive. It's still a positive net rating of 4, but you just look at that defensive impact there, 96.5 when he's on the court versus 104.2 when he's off it. And I think that just shows you that you can look at the stats, you can look at the eye test, you can look at the team and all that. But for me, Giannis is always chasing down defensive opportunities. And by that, what I mean by that is whether it's blocking a shot, whether he's trying to sort of trap a guy in the corner and suffocate him, whether it's just his presence out on the floor changes the way the team's offensive approach is. And that's a sort of stat that is hard to quantify, because it's you see guys, when they drive and they sometimes see Giannis there, they're like, all right, well, I'm just getting rid of the ball and see if we can get someone else to shoot it. And that just shows how athletic he is, how strong he is, how fast he is, and how defensively aware he is, which I think is a huge thing to consider when it comes to a guy's defense. Is he a guy who can just stand there and block shots, kind of like Rudy Gobert at times, where it's he comes in and he blocks shots, whereas Giannis is out there, I think, I'm going to try to create something on this possession for the other team, and it can often lead to a fast break or a transition basket for his own team. So I'm going with him. Anthony Davis has also been great for the Lakers, whose defense has improved tremendously this season, but I don't think Anthony Davis has been as impactful as Giannis. And again, I'm not looking at who's got more blocks and who's got more steals and things like that. I'm just saying I feel when Giannis is on the floor, the Bucks are a lot harder to score on inside and outside. Because they've got a very good defense.
They have a lot of good, talented individual defenders on that team, and a great system in Bud. And I'm talking about Bledsoe and George Hill when he's out there, and Brook Lopez, and Middleton's not even that bad.
Yeah, there's no bad defenders out there, but I feel that when Giannis is out there, it's like he can cover so much ground in such quick time that he is impactfully the most defensive, best defensive player in the league, and so that's why I'm going with him.
Tass, Giannis doing the sort of the unthinkable. Only Jordan and Elijah have won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same year. You think he becomes the third guy?
I don't think so. I think Anthony Davis will win this award. I would vote for Giannis, but I think part of it is the Lakers have been extremely great, as you said. A huge gap between the over/under prediction or projection at the beginning of the season and what they ended up getting. I don't think Frank Vogel's going to win Coach of the Year. I don't think LeBron is going to win MVP. And so going down the ballot after Giannis has won MVP, after the media picks somebody else for Coach of the Year, I think Anthony Davis is going to get the credit for the Lakers defense. And he deserves a ton of credit for the Lakers defense. But I am surprised at how great the Lakers defense is. But the Bucks have been far and away the best defense. I think Giannis is absolutely all over the place, is a little bit more intimidating than Anthony Davis because of how much ground he covers. But Anthony Davis is definitely a big reason that team has achieved what it has defensively. I remember at the beginning of the season, I thought the Lakers are just too friggin' old to be good defensively. And graphics would go up. These guys and their defensive accolades in the past, like Rajon Rondo and Dwight Howard and Danny Green and Avery Bradley, but those guys are just too old, I thought. And LeBron, another year, getting a little longer in the tooth. I just thought Bradley, Green, LeBron, AD, and JaVale or whoever at the 5 was just not good enough. But they've made it work, and I think Anthony Davis is going to get the credit for it.
Wow. So you think ultimately the media might give it to him? I'm torn on this. I think Giannis does do this. I think he pulls it off. And I think he would get my vote. He leads the league in defensive win shares, defensive rating, defensive rebounds on one of the better defensive teams we've ever seen. They're that good. The Bucks are one, and then what are the Lakers? It's Raps, Lakers, maybe the Celtics are in the mix, but the Bucks are miles better than the other teams. Shockingly ahead of them in terms of how good they are in the defensive end of the floor. So it feels weird almost not giving it to Giannis, despite him probably getting MVP too. But I got no problems with that. I know some people think, well, Brook Lopez is just as important to that team defense. Okay, he's been great. His role, I get it. Come on. If you take Giannis away from that team, you take some of the other perimeter guys away from that team, Brook Lopez is not getting the accolades that he would be getting right now. And that's just the way it is. They all have to fit together to make an elite defense, but you got to be putting Giannis above Brook Lopez for what he does on that end of the floor. As great as Brook has been. Other guys too, Marcus Smart and Patrick Beverley, Ben Simmons and Kawhi. All great defensive player, but I think Giannis is more impactful. Yeah. Sorry.
And the thing is, you can always make stats sort of suit whichever side of the argument you want. But, one knock on Davis is the net rating for the Lakers is better when he's off the floor than when he's on. So it is a weird one. Because that you wouldn't just say, well, that means the Lakers are better defensively when Davis is off the floor. And of course, they're much better when Davis is on the floor. But it also just shows that, the net rating difference when he's on the floor and off the floor is not significant. When Giannis is off the floor, it's hugely different for the Bucks. So, that's an argument certainly in Giannis's favor, because he just does, when he's out there, it improves the defense significantly for Milwaukee. But again, I'm not trying to sort of put down Davis. He's been great, and he's been a good defender most of his career. He's a shot blocker. He alters shots as well. But as I was saying earlier, my point is I feel that Giannis tries to create defensive opportunities more so than maybe Kawhi's the only other guy, or Patrick Beverley's another one like that. Ben Simmons too. Other guys do it. But, again, when you're Giannis and you're the MVP on the best player on your team, he's doing so much offensively. He never takes a play off on the defensive end either.
Yeah. So no one thinks Rudy Gobert has much of a chance at going back to back to back in DPOI.
I don't think it's been a good year for Rudy Gobert. The Jazz, at times, their defense looked a little sloppy, and considering how much accolades he gets for when their defense is great, I think he also has to take a knock when it hasn't been as good.
You agree with that, Tess?
Yeah. Just off the floor, not so good. So I think that hurts him. And the fact that he's won 2 in a row also hurts him. Yeah, the Jazz didn't meet expectations while the Lakers and the Bucks have exceeded them. So, yeah, I just don't see it. I mean, there's a Corona joke out there to make right now, but we'll save it for another day. Save it for 2024 when this thing is behind us.
He'll still likely, and I know we're not going to do it on this podcast, pick our all-defensive teams, but Gobert will very likely still be a first or second all-defensive team center. Yeah. I would think. I mean, Brook will get some love. AD is always the question mark. Is he a forward or a center? Where do you want to slot him? But I think Gobert, I mean, there's Embiid too. I think he'll still make it. All right. Well, we got a couple more awards. We're going to do our all-NBA teams, but first, a word from our sponsors.
Get your peanuts, get your popcorn. Baseball is back. The sound of that glove popping, the sweet, 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 sweet smell of the grass, and that sound of the bat thwacking. That's right, the boys will be getting back on the diamond this week. Games start on Thursday. Came out freaking nowhere. Yeah. And while we may not be able to join them at the park, guys, I know you guys like having a nice big can of beer at the park. There's plenty of action to be had from the comfort of your own home. DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is putting you on the field risk-free for a shot at hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy baseball is easy to play. You just pick 10 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for hits, runs, strikeouts, and more. There's no better way to put your baseball knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at hundreds of thousands of bucks. But if baseball isn't for you, don't worry. DraftKings is offering plenty of fantasy golf action for this weekend's tournament. With millions of dollars up for grabs this week, there is no better place to have skin in the game than with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code RUN to get a free shot at a share of the millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit. That's promo code RUN to get a free shot at a share of millions of dollars with your first deposit, only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
All right, fellas, we're no Zac Efron, but are you prepared to unveil your summer bod? That's what I want to know. The sun is shining. The water is shimmering, and the bushes must be tamed. But you ain't taking a machete to that region like you're chopping down bamboo on season 3 of Alone. No, Manscaped is here to ensure your post-quarantine body is ready for the wild. I forget what age I was when I looked south and I realized, my God, I gotta control this situation down there. That's not just for the ladies, Lee. I don't know why you're laughing. Though I'm sure they like it. I'm sure they enjoy it. The grooming game keeps you cool. And in this ATL heat, as we've talked about before, any degree saved helps. That's why you need Manscaped's Perfect Package 3.0. This kit comes with the Essential Lawnmower 3.0 waterproof cordless body trimmer and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your manscaping routine. My favorite part, when you subscribe to the Perfect Package, you get a new blade refill for your trimmer delivered right to your front door every 3 months. That is service. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code THEATHLETIC20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Just pop in that code, THEATHLETIC20. And for a limited time, subscribers get not one, but 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag, a $39 value, and the patented high-performance anti-chafing Manscaped boxer briefs. I know Lee's wearing them right now. So go to I knew that because you look so damn comfortable today.
I do. I have worn them. They're like, I usually prefer a looser fitting brief, but these ones are actually nice and snug, and they keep everything where it should be. There's not too much movement down low.
Yeah,
so I like it.
You usually prefer a boxer brief that I made in grade 8 home economics class, which is you're the last person holding on to those type of briefs. But these bad boys are amazing. So go to manscaped.com today and use the code THEATHLETIC20. What'd you think of? Did you see the video or photo going around of Zac Efron, his dad bod, as the New York Post called him?
Yeah. That's that's not a dad bod though.
No, that's definitely not a dad bod.
That's the complete opposite of a dad. That's a single young guy who's got so much time on his hands. I mean,
so weird.
Yeah,
it's because he just had more hair on his chest. That was the only reason they called it that. I'm convinced.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, Yeah, a dad bod is not defined. Let's say that a dad bod is where you just haven't been able to work out. You haven't been able to stick to your routine, and but you're proud of it too. You know, you're a dad. You got other things to do. You haven't got time to just sit in the gym and.
Are you rocking the dad bod right now then?
Oh, I'm rocking some sort of bod. I tell you, it's more the too much bread in quarantine bod at the moment. It's yeah. Oh man.
Can't keep the carbs out of you. Eh?
No, I can't, man. Carbs are my kryptonite, but that's all right.
Carbs are the enemy.
I saw one of those stupid things going around Twitter too the other day about how pasta and breads, I think it was, they improve your chance at a longer life. It said so. You know, when you see something like that, you're like, oh great, I'm not even going to read the article. I'm just going to see that headline and use it as a positive and go and keep on eating more carbs.
All right. Excellent. Okay, well let's get to a couple more awards before we get to all NBA teams. Rookie of the Year, Tass, start us off. Any chance Zion in just 19 games somehow steals this from Ja Morant?
He better not. No, I think a little hindsight that this break has provided voters will force them to pick Ja Morant. There's just no chance. Like maybe if you were in the moment in March, I think there was definitely a bit more momentum for Zion Williamson, just like there was more momentum for LeBron. I think, again, voters aren't getting cute here. They're not getting cute in November. Mm-hmm. You just go with the guy who provided us with the most incredible moments this season. I think people forget over the course of it was like every week he was doing something. And I wonder, we saw the body of work that Ja Morant had. And how much he impacted the game, how much poise he played the game with. And when you compare him to Zion in the future, who is going to play with more poise? Who's going to control and impact the game more? I think there is a chance that Ja will have more of a, I guess impact or control of the game is the way to put it over the course of his career. There's a chance because he's that good in his rookie year. Although Zion looks to be projected as the better player in the future if he stays healthy, but Ja Morant was a beast in this. The games that he played, and he took a team. I guess it's a little bit like the Pelicans situation where a lot of new bodies, and he took them to the playoffs. And, they finished 8th in the Western Conference, and that's a heck of an achievement for a rookie. I mean, he's their best player, rocking it and doing it and leading every night. And so, yeah, there shouldn't be, I don't know. Is there going to be a vote for Zion? There shouldn't be.
No. I don't think so. I don't think this is not Joel Embiid, Brogdon, / Dario Saric, if you want to throw him in there, situation where Embiid had only played, what was it? He played
31 games.
Yeah,
I think it was,
exactly. 30 games, I was going to say. And then Brogdon, despite not having the most sexy rookie numbers, was just Mr. Consistent and was there all year and obviously contributed and he got it. But everybody's like, well, Joel Embiid is probably a better player, but okay. I'm saying this is not the situation because Ja Morant has killed it. He's killed it. I mean, he's not a Brogdon or a Saric here. He's ranked first in scoring for rookies, first in assists, first in usage percentage, second in value over replacement player, third in win shares, and sixth in field goal percentage. And by the way, first among guards at field goal percentage. He's been unbelievable on a good team that has exceeded expectations, and he's their star player. And he's got the highlights to match, like Tass said. I mean, he's got way more highlights than Zion Williamson. I know Zion hasn't played a ton, but Ja Morant has 10 times the amount. So
and they're in fourth quarters,
it should be
too.
unanimous.
He won games too. It wasn't just highlights. He took over games, win at team's best players in the fourth quarter because he controlled the game. He's a monster. He's a monster at the point guard position already, and could be the most important position of the game, and he's already really, really good at it. So they're meaningful points, meaningful minutes, and he's not a hog by any means. He gets everybody involved, and then he kicks ass at the end of games.
Yeah.
I just wonder who is going to be that voter. No disrespect to Gary Washburn, but who's going to be the Gary Washburn that votes for Carmelo Anthony when LeBron James should be MVP? There might be one. There might be one, but I think there's less of a chance now after hindsight. Yeah. We're out of the Zion fever that we all had in February and March.
Well, yeah, especially when you consider that the Pelicans, because of their schedule too and all that being a little easier, they could have caught the Grizzlies. They could have taken the 8th seed, and then you would have definitely had maybe more voters going, well, okay, he got them in there. I mean, Zion comes back, takes them to the next level. Let's give him the Rookie of the Year vote, and he might be the best player 10 years from now. Because that's the other thing. Some people like to look at this award, not what'd you do in your rookie season, but like, what am I going to feel comfortable with looking back 10 years later and going, oh, we gave it to him? Maybe we shouldn't have done that, despite, less games or less minutes or whatever. What do you think, Lee?
It's the Emeka Okafor situation that Lee was talking about a few days ago. He won Rookie of the Year over Dwight Howard. Maybe had a better season, but if you're projecting, you go with Dwight out of high school.
Do you think anyone will project, Lee, and throw a vote to Zion in just 19 games?
No, you can't really make a vote for Zion in a serious way over Ja Morant. Morant was there from the start, and he delivered. And the thing is, it looked for a while that we may not see Zion at all this season. Because it sort of, kept getting pushed back a little bit further. So the fact that he came on and immediately started just putting up 20-point a game, I don't remember exactly what his streak was, but I know he had a crazy streak there of scoring 20 a game. He came in and he was ready to play. And we've already seen a few photos of Zion down in Orlando. It looks like he's lost a little bit of that sort of extra weight that he carried there. He's kind of bulked up. So I'm just glad that Zion's season, we've gotten something out of it because, coming in, we're all hyped up. He's playing those preseason games, and then all of a sudden we hear he's hurt his knee and he's out, and it's like, oh my God, this is a disaster. So he came back and was great. But Ja Morant was amazing this season, to the point where, my fatherly instincts took over, where a couple of times I was like, please take a little bit of care when you go into the paint there, Ja, because you're going to hurt yourself badly. And how he didn't hurt himself more is a surprise to me. And you're almost like, I don't enjoy those highlights as much because I'm like, this is just an accident waiting to happen. But he was incredible. And not only were his numbers great, as you guys have mentioned there, they were impacting his team to the point where it's like Taylor Jenkins is considered a chance for getting some votes for Coach of the Year because of the Grizzlies being in the playoffs. Now, no one expects the Grizzlies to do any more than perhaps win a game off the first seed in the first round. That would be an incredible achievement for them. But Morant is showing that this guy is legit, and you feel that in the coming years, with the right talent around him, the Grizzlies should pretty quickly vault up the standings there in the Western Conference because he's a superstar player.
Yeah, I wonder how close this vote would have been if, hypothetically, Zion plays, let's give him half the year. Let's say he plays 40 games in a normal season. Plays 40 games.
Yeah, let's say he plays those first 40 as well. So it's it's a race from the start,
Okay, yeah, maybe. I don't even care about that. But averages 24 points per game, which is basically what he scores. Incredible efficiency. He's like a 60% shooter right now in his early part of his career. Would it be... But the Grizzlies steal the 8th seed. They hold on to it. I mean, I just wonder how close the vote would have been. Would you give it to Zion? Because, wow, to score 24 per game as a rookie, that's amazing. And look at his highlights. Or Ja Morant got the Grizzlies into the 8th seed over a full season and averaged, 18-7. That would have been a close vote, I think. I don't think it would have gone one way or the other by a landslide. You think I'm wrong?
No, it would have been close. Yeah. It would have been close, yeah.
People
love the Zion. People love the Zion, and there's the theorists out there that the NBA packaged this whole 22 team thing in Orlando to get Zion Williamson more airtime, and hopefully he's back. He's left for a family emergency, and he should be back for the playoffs, but likely to miss I would guess likely to miss the first game like he did the first game of the season that TNT has on their broadcast. But people, the theory is out there because people are tuning into New Orleans games. There's no doubt about it for Zion Williamson in a way that they didn't for Memphis Grizzlies games, even though we and other people are saying tune in to watch Ja Morant because the highlights, the gameplay, the managing a game, he's awesome.
Final award for the All-NBA teams. Sixth Man of the Year. There's a lot of candidates. Lee, who do you think wins this one?
I'm going with Schroeder out in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been very good this season, and he's found a role that he actually is comfortable with. I think we've talked about it, the way that the Thunder have played this season with Chris Paul as their leader. Dennis Schroeder's actually like, Chris Paul is a legit point guard that I don't mind playing behind. I think he had that problem in Atlanta. not feeling comfortable being a backup point guard, but instead he's realizing that this is a role where he's very good at. He's a good scorer. He can distribute the ball. He's not a bad defender. And, putting up decent numbers. There's always the guys like the Lou Williams out there, who you just sort of consider as goes out there and gets your buckets, which he does. But I think Schroeder was a very important part of what the Thunder did with that three-headed monster of Paul, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Schroeder out on the floor occasionally at times, and good at closing out games. And so I just think he matured a lot this season, accepted that role, played it very, very well, and was an underrated part of why the Thunder were having success. So I think he gets an award this year.
Tass?
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a story, and even though you said, Skeets, there's other guys, and Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell and Derrick Rose out there, I think Schroeder's got, he's somehow... He's got the story. He's also leading the league in points per game off the bench, in 19 points per game, even though he plays like starters minutes.
Yeah.
He plays at 31 minutes a game. So do you look at him and say, oh, that's a lot of minutes? You're kind of like a starter. Does anyone care? Probably not. I know Trey was pining for Derrick Rose hard, and I was in Derrick Rose's corner for a while. But then he started starting, and he's played about 30% of his games as a starter. He had that game winner versus the Pelicans early in the season. He plays less minutes, scores a little bit less than Dennis Schroeder. Derek Schroeder and Dennis Rose. Going to be a tough race out there. But I even though per minute Rose's numbers are probably higher, there's a reason that he's a bench guy and he shouldn't be starting. It's because he can play a maximum of 25 minutes a game. His shot per minute numbers, he gets out there and jacks probably more than anybody. And he was on a bad team out there in Detroit. So I think Schroeder kind of has it. Like, people are tired of giving it to Lou Williams.
Lou Williams had a bad year too.
Yeah,
I mean, he really did.
Bad.
Yeah, it was bad, especially when you, if you want to take into consideration the zero he is on the other end of the floor. I mean, he gives a lot of it back.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, he's still like almost 19 points a game. Like, he wasn't far off what Schroeder did, but. Yeah, his percentage dropped a little bit, and because he's not peak Lou, he's not going to win it. I don't think. I think probably so. Montrezl Harrell probably has a better shot on that team, and I think the fact that looking at the bubble, Reggie Jackson came in and started playing alongside Lou Williams. I think they played 8 games together. The fact that they don't have a lot of time to get together here, and Landry Shamet isn't there currently, and one of the Morrises isn't there. I'm not sure which one plays for the Lakers, which one plays for the Clippers, but I'm worried about their cohesion and Luke kind of playing off the ball a little bit, even though he's awesome and he's going to figure it out. Reggie had the ball in his hands a lot, and I don't know how that all fits, but Lou's going to get his shots up no matter what. But yeah, he wasn't as good. He wasn't as good.
No, and it's tough I think he'll get a lot of votes. He might win it for crying out loud, Montrezl Harrell, but tough for a big guy to win this award. To come off the bench and get the accolades as like a spark plug, like a Lou or a Crawford or even a Schroeder, as we've talked about, like a guy that just gets buckets. And Montrezl scores, but it is for whatever reason, it's people don't care as much for the big guy coming off. I remember Taj Gibson a couple of years ago. It was a good example of that. And instead, one of the, I forget who took it from, probably Lou or something like that. But like, same thing. It's like, nah, this guy just comes in and gets buckets. And in Lou's case, especially previous years, like wins quarters, wins games for crying out loud for his team, and plays heavy minutes too. But I don't know. Does Harrell and Lou do they take away votes from each other, and does that allow like a Schroeder to grab this, or a Derrick Rose, or like a George Hill, like Clarkson? You're reaching at that point. I think my prediction is ultimately to Schroeder as well, though I'm not like super excited about it, if that makes sense. There's no one with a bang with a bang here. Yeah.
I mean, I think the case for Harrell is that he comes out and he works hard. But that maybe isn't as sexy as a guy who goes out there like Lou and just can give you 35 points. But I think Montrezl, and I think the Clippers really do appreciate what he gives them for that energy boost off the second for the second unit, because he's not out there shooting jump shots. He's out there like a Sean Marion, tip ins and putbacks and running the floor and just creating baskets for himself, but giving them a real boost. But again, I think people kind of, they just don't see that as the same impact as a guy who's out there shooting feathery 3-pointers and things like that. So I think Montrez certainly should finish no lower than sort of third or fourth in this category, but I don't know if he will.
All right, all NBA, let's do this. So we'll try and collectively build our teams. Well, I'm sure we'll have a few debates here in slotting in our guys. First team, probably not a whole lot of debate, though, let's be honest. Tell me if I'm wrong. The guards are Luka and James Harden?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about Lee? Are you okay with that? I know you didn't have Harden.
He
in your
hates
top
Harden,
five.
so give me somebody else. Who do you want? Tatum there?
That's the thing. I mean, people will know I have I'm not a huge Harden supporter. I think he's been great. Well, he hasn't been great. I don't think he's been great.
He has been great. He hasn't.
He hasn't. He
Yes,
wasn't
he
great.
has.
He was shooting 22% from three earlier this season. I don't.
But his numbers. I know he definitely did drop off. But through 39 games, he was averaging almost 38 points and shot 65% true shooting percentage. And then he did drop off. Now he's at 34.4 points per game, a lousy leading the league with 34.4 points per game, and the 62% true shooting percentage is exact same he's had the last couple years. It was a bit of a drop off because he was on fire, and because his floor numbers are a little different. But he's getting to the line more, and so his numbers, you might see them, and they might, but like he had 19 40-point games this season. I mean, that's
So
really ridiculous.
Lee, who would you put alongside Luka as the other guard on the first team? If you're not going Harden, even though it sounds like Tass and I are going to outvote you here, but who would you put?
No, Trey. I can't sort of say, well, Trey would take my side. He's going to vote Harden as well. Honestly, we probably be Lillard or Chris Paul for me. But I mean, they're both. Chris Paul's numbers clearly nowhere near James Harden's. But again, for what he's done for that team, I think he was incredible this season. I just and even Westbrook, I do feel really came on and affected that team. And Harden, he gets his numbers, we know, because the ball's in his hands all the time. But early on that season, when he was just firing away and putting up some of those, like he might score 50 points. I don't have all the box scores here, but I know he was shooting like 2 for 16 from downtown as well. And those sorts of things, it's like, all right, come on, that we shouldn't be rewarding that if a guy's getting 50 if he's shooting badly like that. I'm going to have to go and check these box scores because someone's going to tweet at me and say, oh, you never did that. But it just, there was some times this season, and I know he was averaging 40, and we talked about maybe he could average that for the season. But he seemed to be just sort of firing away there, and the Rockets weren't the Rockets weren't having a great season. So
wow. Okay, well, this is a fascinating take. You almost tried to convince me you would put Westbrook over Harden on your All-NBA first team.
Ultimately not really, but I just, when I see Harden as first team, I thought, I don't think he's had that good a season again, even though he's average leading the league with 34 points a game. But I'm not going to win this argument.
Would you leave him off your All-NBA teams completely?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I would have him on the second team at worst.
Okay.
I just not sure that I'm convinced that he's deserving of first team this season. But
and you're contemplating Lillard, contemplating Chris Paul, contemplating maybe a Westbrook. Okay, so we'll get to those names as we go through the rest.
Yeah.
All right, so forwards, are you okay with Giannis and LeBron?
All right. I'll give you those two. Is Giannis a forward? Is he a guard? Is he a center? What is he?
I wouldn't be shocked if you tried to convince me PJ Tucker should be on this or something like that. The impact of that Rockets team. Okay. So Giannis and LeBron. And then the center is you threw me for a loop there with not wanting Harden on the first team, I'll admit, but Embiid or Jokic or maybe somebody else. Who, Tass, why don't you take the first stab at, who would be your center on the All-NBA first team?
I would shove Anthony Davis in there. Because he plays a lot of his minutes at center. And I think when you look back at the 1920 season, Anthony Davis was by far and away a better player than Jokic or Embiid, who are more traditional centers. And Anthony Davis doesn't start at center. JaVale McGee does. And Dwight Howard plays some center, but he plays a good chunk of his minutes at center. They close with him at center a lot of the times because that's their best lineup. And he's in my top 5 for MVP voting. Those 5 guys, Luka, Harden, Giannis, LeBron, and him are the top 5. And so I think looking back, you want to say that guy was first team All-NBA because he was one of the 5 best players. Forget these stupid positions. I mean, what does it really matter? I mean, if you were picking a guy, I know you have to pick a center, but if you're picking a guy to play with Luka, Harden, Giannis, and LeBron this season, the guy who played his best was Anthony Davis. And like if Jokic started better, if Embiid played to a better level, the level I expected him to pick or to play at when I picked him for MVP at the beginning of the season, it'd be different. But they didn't play to their capabilities, and you can blame Al Horford for Embiid, sure. But I think Anthony Davis definitely the 5th best player, by with a bullet over those guys. So I'd find a way to shove him in. I know it's cheating.
No, that happens though. That happens with all NBA teams. I feel like this happened time and time again with Tim Duncan, right? Like being just like slotted wherever they wanted to put him. Power forward, center, doesn't matter. Okay, yeah. Anthony Davis, I'll push back a little bit on that he played a lot of money. I forget what the exact word you used at center that he played. I mean, he played like 38% at center because they did play a lot of Dwight or JaVale McGee. They played big. They played traditional, the Lakers did, Frank Vogel. So he was more playing a forward position for a good chunk of the year, but I hear what you're... I take your point, totally fair, that you want to make him the big here on this team, so he's your center. Lee, you fine with the ED? You want Embiid? You want Jokic? You want somebody else?
Yeah, see, now this seems weird to me to have Embiid or Jokic over Davis in the first team because I think Davis has been better than both of those guys. And, yeah, I put him at center. I don't care about, he played percentage here. He's as good enough, close enough to being a center as he needs to be for me. So Jokic started off terribly. He really got it going once he got himself fit. But no, he wasn't better than Davis. And Embiid a bit the same. Embiid was a bit frustrating this season. Again, we've talked about the fit there in Philadelphia wasn't great. And some people, I think Tass and Trey even had Embiid as an MVP coming into this season, and he wasn't near that. So I think Davis deserves to be on the first team here. And yeah, if we want to get all sexy about who's a center and who's not, I mean, Davis is good enough for me to be called a center. It's not like we're trying to shove him in as a point guard or anything like that. So
I want to get all sexy about it. Yeah.
I'm going to start referring to myself as the center of the No Dunks podcast team. Then. Sorry, Trey. I'm the center. Okay.
Well, you're the sexy one because you just looked down during your Manscaped ad and you said, I got to fix this up.
Whoever has the sexiest bush gets to play center on the No Dunks team. Okay, so to go over that, we're putting Luka, Harden, Giannis, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. That's our first team. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All NBA second team. Guard, tell me if I'm wrong, we're locking in Damian Lillard.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it gets a little tricky because I think there's a lot of guys you can make the case for the second guard spot. Westbrook might be in the mix. Chris Paul might be in your mix. Ben Simmons. Guys that were on bad teams with huge numbers. Beal, Trae Young. Winners like Lowry. Scorers like Booker. Maybe Mitchell. Maybe Kemba. But Tass, you take the first stab at this. Who would you like to see as the second guard on our all-NBA second team?
Yeah,
it's tough.
I want to pretend that I'm passionate about this, but this second guard... I'd be fine with CP3 or Westbrook or even Ben Simmons. So somebody else can take a stab. I think those 3 guys. I'm okay with. I'm a little bit more passionate about the first team All-NBA. I think those 3 guys, Westbrook, CP3, and Simmons, should round out the guard spots for the second and third team.
Ooh, okay.
And then I'd be fine. But whoever wants to make a fiery, sexy statement about who should be the second guard here on the second team besides Damian Lillard, go right ahead.
It sounds like you want Chris Paul, Lee.
Yeah, Chris Paul, easily for me on this spot. He's been amazing this season. He made the All-Star team again, and he made the Thunder into a very, very good team, well-functioned team. Again, his numbers aren't going to blow anyone apart, even though his numbers are pretty solid. And again, fourth quarter, closing games, it happened time and time again where it's like, look at Chris Paul. This is Chris Paul from the New Orleans days where he seemed to be energized again, put the ball in his hands, and he was closing out games. I think there's no question that he's a lock for me for that spot. Again, I'm trying to sort of put him into that first team. I don't think he's quite there. It's a little bit of a revolving door, that sort of second guard spot for me in that first team. But absolutely no question that Chris Paul deserves it over. Westbrook good, Simmons good at times, Bradley Beal. I mean, Beal gets the credit because he was great himself, but the Wizards, of course, were nowhere near the playoffs the 6.5 games.
Should
whatever
that matter
it is.
at all, though? Should it
Exactly.
matter
I
when
don't
it
know.
comes
Does
to
it matter?
All-NBA?
I think it does matter on the first team, maybe not so much on the second and third team. So I'm not sure.
Okay, so I'm fine with that. Let's just let's keep it going here. Let's put Chris
Yeah.
Paul there with Damian Lillard. Those are our two guards, all NBA second team. Forwards. Kawhi Leonard, is he a lock for everybody?
I'm good with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the All NBA second team? Okay, I thought so. Then it's a little open for debate because, I originally thought maybe Anthony Davis would slide in there, but we put him on our first team. So does that mean we're going just Embiid Jokic as forward center, or is there another case to be made for a forward? Who do you think, Tass?
Ooh, yeah. I think my inclination is to pick one of the other good forwards out in the league, whether it's Jimmy Butler or Tatum. I would probably sneak in here.
Chris Middleton,
Yeah,
Siakam,
Middleton,
maybe?
I think Middleton deserves a bit more credit too this year. I think he was very, very good for the Bucks. But it's Chris Middleton, so I don't think he gets the recognition. That's why I don't think so. I think he was good. Mm-hmm. I think maybe third team for him. But Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler did start off well. His numbers again aren't huge if you sort of want to take that into consideration.
Definitely not. Didn't shoot well this year. Gets to the line a ton though.
Yeah, and then is Siakam. I mean, Siakam, if you were making this award in December, I think was an absolute lock for that, or Tatum. So it's a tough one. Give me Tatum. I'll go Tatum. Yeah.
Tass, who do you ultimately go?
I'll take Butler. I think his numbers at the line, boost his production enough, and being a number one guy throughout the year offensively, the guy who they gave the ball to for entire fourth quarters. I'd take him, but there you go.
Interesting.
Skeets. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's up to me. I mean, wow. Butler, Tatum, a Middleton. Yeah. I guess I'll go Jimmy. I mean, we got an interesting All-NBA second team here because we got two guys that don't blow you away with their numbers in Chris Paul and Jimmy Butler, but, they're leaders. They're winners.
Yeah.
They take over crunch time, and I'm fine with that. And they obviously bring it on both ends, too, which I think is somewhat important when you're making you're looking at the 15 best players in the league that year.
You certainly
helps
should
if they can give you something defensively, but
we certainly should look more than just numbers, which I think a lot of the times it comes down to. Like a guy just putting up big numbers. Like Bradley Beal putting up big numbers, teams not winning, but he clearly was a better player this season than I think we've seen, even though he missed out on the All-Star game. So. I want to see guys like Butler again, who you don't have to be putting up huge numbers just to get in there. Like you have to be doing the other things as well.
All right, Jimmy gets an All-NBA second nod here. Then who's the center? Embiid or Jokic? Lee, you get it started, or somebody else.
I'll go with Jokic overall. Again, talked about it there with Embiid being a little bit frustrating there for Philadelphia. I'm fascinated to see how this season ends for Philadelphia and what happens in the future with them, because coming in with Al Horford there and Josh Richardson, you were like, they should be a contender for the championship, but they're not as we've seen them right now. Embiid, at his best, is an MVP candidate on both ends of the floor, but he hadn't been, I don't think, this season. Jokic started off slow. We've talked about it enough. I think when he got it going, though, he was very, very good. And he was averaging 20 and 10 and about 7.5 assists. So he got himself ready. He's got himself in different shape coming into the bubble. Will it be better shape or worse shape? We'll find out in the next couple of weeks.
All right. Tass, you like Jokic, Embiid, Bam, Gobert? Where do you go?
I would take Jokic. I think he was the second best center. If Anthony Davis is a center, I think he was clearly better than Joel Embiid. And you can put the blame on Al Horford's shoulders. He's man enough. He's got wide enough shoulders to take the blame for Joel Embiid's not having the season, not having the space that he needed with Al Horford and Ben Simmons out there. And this is another All-NBA selection for Joel Embiid. He's never gotten to the first team. He's had a couple second teams, and it'd be weird. I guess you could drop him to the third here, but I think keeping him there is fine.
Okay, our All-NBA second team, I'm fine with that Jokic pick. We have Lillard, Chris Paul as the guards, Kawhi, Jimmy Butler as the forwards, and then Jokic as the center. Third team, let's just pick the center right now while we're talking big men. All-NBA third team, is it Embiid? We just putting him right in, or can you make a case for Bam or Gobert or somebody else? Lee?
Give me Embiid just over Bam.
We gotta have Joel Embiid on
yeah.
our All NBA teams.
Yeah. He wasn't as good as the last couple of years where he's second team, so I think third's fine.
That makes sense. Okay, so and that is, Bam, great year, unbelievable year. Might win Most Improved, was an All-Star. Gobert, we talked about, he did fall off a little bit. Obviously, super impactful still defensively, but I'm fine with that. I think that makes sense. If we had AD as our first team All Center, then Jokic and Embiid still got to be in the mix. So okay, put Embiid in. Let's go to the forwards because it's really down to three by the sounds of it. It's Middleton, Siakam, and Tatum, unless I'm forgetting anybody. Does Middleton have to be on an All-NBA team? Does he deserve that nearly, flirting with the 50, 40, 90, being on the best team in the league? Yeah, he's the second banana, but is that more impressive? Is that just as impressive as a lead guy like a Siakam or a Tatum? What do you think, Tass?
Yeah, it's real tough. When I was debating this, I think I would slide in. Is that the word? Jason Tatum to a forward spot. I think Tatum would be my guy there, and then I was picking between that Chris Middleton, number 2 guy. Numbers are very, very pretty versus Pascal Siakam. Came out of the gate real strong, looking like the guy who could take over Kawhi's reins, and then slowed down a little bit, but still the numbers really, really good, and does more defensively, if we want to factor that in. Gets people involved a little bit, not a lot. I could go either way, but I'd probably take Pascal Siakam over Chris Middleton.
Okay, so you go Siakam and Tatum. Lee, who are your two?
Yeah, I unfortunately, I'm going to leave Siakam off mine. I can't believe I'm saying that considering how he started the season. Middleton's in for me. Middleton's in. I think Middleton deserves some more recognition because he's kind of been considered like, he can't really step up in Giannis's absence. But I think as that second guy, that clear second guy, he doesn't attempt to try to be the number 1 guy. He understands his role. He does it very well. Shoots the ball incredibly well. He's up to 21 a game with 6 rebounds. I mean, that's pretty decent numbers.
He's no Pascal, 23 and a half, 7.5 rebounds.
Pascal again, he did tear out of those gates, exploded out of the gates, but he cooled off. I'm giving Middleton a nod because the Bucks have been the best team.
And then there's no Raptor.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we can put Middleton in. Well, we're agreeing because I've got to vote for Middleton as well. So that's 2. He's in. Chris Middleton's on our team. So now, Lee, it comes down to Siakam or Tatum. It sounded like you wanted Tatum. You were making a case for him on the All-NBA second team.
Yeah, I was. I'm going to go with Tatum. I feel awful saying that, but I'm giving. I can't believe Siakam's not on there. But
well, he's on my team. Sorry, Tatum, get the hell out of here. I'm going to upset the Beantown boys. Tass had Siakam in. We put him in. We'll play the homework card. I mean, that is tough.
Good.
That is very, very difficult between those 3. And maybe even we had it wrong. Maybe Jimmy shouldn't have been there. I don't know in the All-NBA second team. Maybe it should have been one of these guys. Let's hear from you out there, by the way. Tweet at us at NoDunkSync. Okay, it was a tough way to get there, but we're semi-agreeing on just pure, Democratic votes here. It's Middleton and Siakam as our 2 forwards on the All-NBA third team. Oh, that's tough for Tatum.
That's great when the Beantown boys come. I'll say, I was with you guys.
Hey, look, we could put Tatum at the guard position.
Yeah,
no reason why we couldn't.
That's why we should scrap all position. Just make it the best 15 players, man.
Hold on. I picked Tatum. I picked Tatum and Siakam. Lee, you picked Tatum and Middleton?
Yes.
Oh, see, he got 2 votes. Middleton got 2 votes. Tatum got 2 votes. And
I'm sorry.
Siakam got 2.
Yeah, you're right.
We need an extra forward spot.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I don't know who the hell we got in
Give it to Siakam. Give it to Siakam. Right, I'm fine.
Hey, guys, crazy thing. This doesn't matter. But let's round it out because this is fun. The guards. The 2 guards on the All-NBA third team. Again, I listed a ton of guys that would be in the mix. Westbrook, Simmons, Beal, Trey, Lowry, Kemba, Mitchell, Booker. Who gets them? I mean, here's the question. Do you want to credit a guy like Beal, or maybe even Trae Young for that matter, who had incredible numbers, who are incredible players, but were on bad teams? Do you want to basically do what we used to do with Tracy McGrady when he was with the Magic? Because Tracy McGrady made all NBA teams left and right. I think on average when he was there, his teams won like 38 games. They weren't that good. They were not that good. But, the one year they won 21 games, and McGrady led the league in scoring. for the second consecutive season, and he was all NBA second team.
Wow.
Why don't we do that with
games,
Beal?
That's all they won?
Yeah, man. So why don't we do it with Beal?
Yeah, I know. Well, certainly not both of those guys for sure. You can't have Beal
Yeah.
and Trae Young. And Trae I'm going to leave off because it's only his second season, and this is like, you know what? You've got plenty of time. You're going to make some, so you miss out this year. You got to just go through these couple of seasons like that. I think I'm going with Kemba. I think Kemba was very, very good on the Celtics. I'm going with Kyle Lowry though. I need Kyle Lowry out there.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just looking at all these names and I'm like, yeah, he was good. Give me Kyle Lowry. I want Lowry up there. That's one spot.
So who's your other one then? You give us your two.
Yeah,
Lowry and Hill.
Simmons.
Okay. Wow, Lowry. So going defense. He likes the defense, this guy. All right, Tass, what about you?
Just first a note on Tracy McGrady. The thing with Tracy McGrady is you just should have stayed in Toronto. You would have won more games. My team, I definitely veer All-Star game. I say putting points on the board. You're an awesome player. We want you in the All-Star game. Trae Young, Bradley Beal probably should have been there as well. When it comes to the end of the season, I just want well-rounded individuals that do a whole heck of a lot. So Ben Simmons would make my team, and Russell Westbrook would make my other spot.
Simmons and Westbrook. Okay, well, Simmons is in then. I mean, that's 2 votes for him, and I'm not angry with that. Ben Simmons is one of the guards, one of the better guards in the league. Wow, so it comes down to really that final spot where we got to decide on. Lowry's in the mix. Westbrook's in the mix. I hear you on Beal. I mean, I think McGrady is a really good example of sort of a comparable guy. Like, Beal scored 30 points per game this year. Now, he didn't play a lick of defense. I mean, his team stunk. I mean, like, it's almost to the point, like, I think he just stopped trying on defense. He's like, why? I ain't going to try. Nobody else is trying. So
it was actually hilarious how they just didn't even make any effort on defense, the Wizards.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I'll hold that over him a little bit. I'll go Simmons. We already got him in, and wow, Westbrook or Lowry. I sort of feel like Lowry did not have an All NBA like season. He's been there before, or at least once. I think he made it.
I think he's made a couple of.
Just one.
Oh, just one.
Yeah.
Westbrook is the fascinating one. I mean, Westbrook doesn't even sniff this All-NBA team if he doesn't turn it on in 2020. You know, like, he wouldn't even... People would be angry for even bringing him up as one of the better players in the league. But then he was balling there for, 20 games or whatever it was. All right. I'll go Westbrook. Westbrook and Simmons. Yeah. I mean, I tried to... I'm putting Siakam in there. I'm not even comfortable with having 2 Raptors in there and then having no Celtics. Well, maybe it should just be Tatum. I'm putting Tatum and Simmons. Wow. See, this is always difficult, man. We got 3 guys trying to build our team. So in the end, I know we got Simmons in there. That other guard is, is it Lowry? Is it Westbrook? Or is it even Tatum? Our forwards.
Shove Tatum in there. That's fine.
Shove Tatum? Everybody's fine with that? All right.
Yeah, sure.
We'll put Tatum there. So we got Simmons and Tatum as our guards, and then our forwards were Middleton and Siakam, and then Embiid was our All-NBA third-team center. All right, tell us if you agree, disagree, who you upset about that we left off. Oh, the Beantown boys, I can hear the music, though we got Tatum in there, thank God. They're going to come marching over the hill. They're angry with us. That's okay. That was fun. Guys, let us know all your picks for all these awards and the All-NBA teams, like I said. Get your questions in for tomorrow's Beach Step In. Email us nodunks@theathletic.com or tweet them in at nodunks.inc.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us, and remember, these picks don't matter.
Embrace the day, people.